The Surface Studio made all-in-one PCs cool again. Now with the Surface Studio 2, Microsoft is making it something even more compelling for creative professionals. The original Studio showed there was still the potential for innovation beyond iMac-like desktops. Thanks to its hinge, all it took was a simple push on the top of the display to bring the whole screen down. By doing that, the Studio became a giant easel, the sort of thing that would be ideal for digital artists. But despite being so innovative, Microsoft saddled that first machine with an aging CPU and slow graphics. This time around, the company is fixing most of those issues, with newer CPU options, faster storage, and most importantly, significantly beefier NVIDIA 10 series graphics. The only downside, once again, is that you'll have to pay a steep price for a machine you can't really upgrade down the line. It's clear that this is an iterative update for Microsoft. The Surface Studio 2 looks exactly the same as the original, with a gray magnesium case, a gorgeous and thin 28-inch display, and mirror-finished metal arms connecting the two. It's a design that's both striking and simple, and it still looks attractive 2 years later. Under the hood, it's a different story entirely, with the choice of NVIDIA GTX 1060 and 1070 graphics. You'll actually be able to play some modern games like Forza Horizon 4. Our review unit included the GTX 1070 GPU, which achieved frame rates between 90 and 100 FPS in 1440p with all the graphics settings maxed out in Forza. While it's faster than the GTX 980M graphics in the first Studio, the new model still isn't powerful enough to play many games at the display's full 4500 by 3000 pixel resolution, at least if you want 60 FPS. I saw around 34 FPS in Forza. That's also a resolution that's tougher to handle than 4K. Nobody will be buying the Surface Studio 2 as a gaming rig, but it would have been nice to see Microsoft cram in the more powerful GTX 1080 GPU. Its CPU upgrade is a similar story. Now it includes the 7th generation Core i7-7820HQ, which is better at handling 4K video than the 6th generation processor from its predecessor. But once again, the Studio is a step behind everybody else. Intel's 8th generation CPUs have been out for over a year, and it's surprising that Microsoft didn't use one of those instead. Even though it didn't get all the upgrades we wanted, the Surface Studio 2 is still noticeably faster than before. It scored over 1,000 points higher in the PC Mark 8 benchmark, and it was twice as fast in the 3D Mark Skydiver test. Microsoft also wisely moved beyond a slow hybrid hard drive. Now you can choose from either a 1TB or a 2TB SSD. While the last machine had read and write speeds of around 300 megabytes per second, the Studio 2's SSD writes data more than 3 times faster, and its read speeds are 10 times better. Gamers aren't the only ones benefiting from all this new hardware. The Studio 2 is now better suited to resource-intensive tasks like video editing and encoding, things that could take advantage of the extra GPU power and more robust storage. Since the Surface Studio 2 is a completely self-contained machine with no potential for upgrade, it's particularly important that you get the fastest hardware you can from the beginning. Outside of the spec bumps, using the Surface Studio 2 is pretty much the same as before. Its screen is a sight to behold, with plenty of brightness and glorious color reproduction. And I still really like its 3:2 aspect ratio, which gives you more vertical workspace than a typical widescreen display. These days I'm spoiled by my ultra-wide monitor at home, but I was able to be just as productive on the Studio 2. It's a great display for watching video, but I can imagine media editors and really anyone working with huge timelines and complex apps will appreciate the massive amount of real estate. I'll admit I'm not really the target audience for the device's easel orientation, which is what Microsoft calls it when you push the screen all the way down. Still, I found that mode incredibly immersive while drawing and jotting down notes. And even though it's more suited to artists, it really opens up the ways people can use a large all-in-one PC. It's something a teacher could use at the front of a classroom to annotate documents and lead a lesson without losing sight of their students. That flexibility is key, and it's something that no other all-in-one PC can easily do. Honestly, you'd have a hard time doing that with a standard PC monitor too. Clearly, this is a machine made for productivity, and it has all the ports you need to get some serious work done. It features 4 USB 3.0 ports, including one that's rated as high power, an SD card reader, USB-C, Gigabit Ethernet, and of course a headphone jack. The Surface Pen is bundled in the box, and it remains one of the best digital styluses around. It's comfortable, feels great when writing on the screen, and when you're not using it, you can stick it to the side of the screen magnetically. Microsoft isn't promoting the $100 Surface Dial as much this time around, but still available, and it's useful for anyone working in supported apps like OneNote and Autodesk Sketchbook. I didn't have one to test this time, but with the latest model, I was impressed with the potential for its offhand controls, since you could easily tweak settings without dropping the stylus. The Surface Studio 2 starts at $34.99, $500 more than before. If you want to upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM, you'll have to add another $700. And if you're going all out with a 2TB hard drive, be prepared to spend $47.99. Basically, Microsoft is filling the gap between the affordable iMac and the pricey iMac Pro, which starts at $5,000. That machine includes a more powerful 8-core Xeon processor, but it has weaker graphics capabilities. If you're intrigued by the idea of a powerful all-in-one but can't really shell out that much cash, there's also Dell's XPS 27, which goes for $1,400 to start and $1,700 with a touchscreen. It'll still be a very capable machine for any creative professional. So is the Surface Studio 2 worth it? For a certain type of professional, one that demands a flexible display and powerful hardware, it could be. But at the very least, it's an easier sell than before.